Absolutely delicious. My gosh. Angela Kay is a mashed tater queen. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. I'm Jason. The brilliant cooker here is Angela Kay. You're going to hear from her for just a second. But today we're in the kitchen and we're going to do another Homestead Kitchen Skills series video. And we're going to do something very simple, very delicious, one of my favorite things in the world to eat. Some beautiful creamy mashed potatoes, okay? So I'm going to take you over here. Angela Kay is going to tell you how she gets it done. You're going to enjoy it.
I'm not teaching you a recipe here, I'm more teaching you a method, so there probably won't be this many potatoes or whatever because it's all up to you.
Yep.
So I'm more teaching you a method. So in this pot I have potatoes that I have peeled and sliced. Now some people cut them in chunks. I prefer to slice them in about 1/2 inch thick slices because they cook much faster that way. If you cut them in chunks, they cook at uneven rates. They tend to cook a lot slower. They cook much faster if you slice them. And after I peeled them, washed them, and sliced them, I put them in cold water. It keeps them from oxidizing, first off, because potatoes oxidize really quick. And what I mean by oxidizing, they turn brown. Well, kind of pinkish brown, really, with potatoes. And also, it washes any excess grit off of them because you don't want dirt in your potatoes. And also, it kind of washes a little bit of that starch off of them. So it helps make them creamier and fluffier. So then I dumped all that water off and I put in hot water, and it's about 1.5 inches or so above the potatoes. You want a nice big pot that you have a lot of room in because the starch in the potatoes are going to make them cook over if you don't have excess room. So now we're going to go over to the stove and I'll show you what we do next. Now this step is very important because it's hard to get them seasoned right if you don't season them while they're cooking. So I put in a couple of good pinches of salt. It depends how much salt you put in, depends on how many potatoes you used. Just a good bit of salt so that you know that they're seasoned. And I know this step is going to sound crazy. This is something my mom taught me years ago when she taught me how to make mashed potatoes. She always taught me to put in just a little bit of oil, maybe a teaspoon or 2 of oil into your potatoes. I've tried doing it without putting it in, and the potatoes didn't seem as fluffy. Somehow I think it changes the starch and how the starch sticks to the potatoes. It just works so much better if you put in that little bit of oil. Now you want to turn your heat on medium-high heat, and you want to put a lid on them. They'll cook much faster if you put a lid on them. And you want to bring them to a boil and let them cook until they're tender. I'll show you what they look like when they are perfectly ready to mash. I'm going to show you how you know when your potatoes are ready to mash. I've got out a thicker slice and I've put it on my lid, and you just take a fork, and when it mashes with no problem, when it gives you no resistance at all, you know it's ready. Now you want to drain all your water off, and then I'll show you kind of an important step. Now we've drained our potatoes. Now I've put the pot back on the stove on about medium heat. You just want to do this for about a minute so that it dries up any excess water that is there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That way it won't cause them to be like gummy and waxy. It will cause them to be more fluffy and creamy. Okay, as you can see, they're all nice and dry now. And they already look more fluffy because you did that little step. It's actually a very important step. So now I'm going to add just a little bit more salt. And we'll check for seasoning later.
You can always add more salt. You can never take salt out.
You can never take it out.
So
I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. Now you don't need any special equipment for this. You do not need a mixer. You do not need a blender. You do not need a stick blender. Just a potato masher. And another little piece of equipment that I'll show you in just a few minutes. Now you want to start mashing them up just a little bit. just to get the big pieces broke down just a little bit. Now I'm going to add my butter. For this amount of potatoes, I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of salted butter. But like I said, I'm more teaching you a method, not measurements. Because it also depends on how buttery you like your mashed potatoes.
You could add another stick, that'd be fine.
And you want to keep mashing, and that butter will melt very quickly because your potatoes are very hot.
Now, if you just wanted to do this with a mixer, you could do this with a mixer, right?
You could do this with a mixer.
It's okay, but if you just don't want to do it with a mixer, maybe your mixer's broke and wore out, which happens with those mixers, you know.
And also, this way is just easy.
Mm-hmm. It's very easy.
It's just very easy. Now, at this point, you have a choice to make. You can do any sort of liquid at this point. You can do plain milk. You can do half and half. You can do evaporated milk. You can do sour cream. You can do buttermilk. Or I'm going to do heavy cream. Now, this could take anywhere from a half a cup for this amount of potatoes. It could take anywhere from a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup. It all depends.
Yep. Just work it in there and see how it works.
It all depends on your potatoes, because sometimes some potatoes are going to take more, some are going to take less. And also it depends on how creamy you like them. Now I'm going to go to the spoon and I'm going to stir that in and see where we're at. And see, now we're getting all creamy. And I think that's about where we want it until the next step. At this point, you want to taste them for salt and pepper, because this is your final seasoning. I think they need a little bit more salt and a good bit of pepper.
Like I told you, need more pepper.
Because I'm married to the pepper man.
And that's my father.
And now for my little step. To make them really fluffy and really creamy, you want to pull out a whisk. You just want to whisk them really good. And at this point, you will see if they need any more cream or butter, because they will get nice and fluffy at this point. Because it will beat out any lumps that are in there, and it'll start whipping that cream just a little bit. So you will get the fluffiest, best mashed potatoes ever if you do this step. And I can see that it needs just a little bit more heavy cream, but not much at all. Now look at those beauties.
It's impressive. And they're smooth.
They're so smooth.
And they're smooth. There's no chunks left. So
without a mixer.
So no chunks, no mixer.
Yes.
Fascinating.
And it was just that easy. Look at that.
That's nice.
Look how beautiful those are. Nice and fluffy and creamy.
That's good.
And I promise you, they're going to be delicious.
And now, I just got me out a spoon. Going to dip them right out of that little pot there, and we'll find out. Yep. So smooth and creamy. Absolutely delicious. My gosh. Angela Kay is a mashed tater queen. Those are awesome. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. Again, that's simple. Mashed potatoes, no mixer needed. You know, so it's awesome. You're going to want to try them. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jason. That's Angela Kay, Art of Creation Homestead. We love you guys. God bless you and goodbye.